So anytime we factor, the first thing we do is look for a greatest common factor. And when we look at this first problem, 15a minus 3ab plus 4b minus 20 doesn't seem to be a greatest common factor, nothing that all four of these terms have in common. So our next step is to look to factor by grouping. So we go ahead and group the first terms together, 15a minus 3ab, and we look for a greatest common factor with just those two terms. And so if we look at just the coefficients first, 15 and 3, those have a greatest common factor of 3, and then they both have an a in them. So the greatest common factor is 3a. And then inside the parentheses, 3a times 5 is going to be 15a, and 3a times b is going to give us 3ab. So the first pair factored is 3a times the quantity, 5 minus b. And so now we'll go ahead and factor our next two, 4b plus 20. So we've got a plus 4b minus 20. Looks like the greatest common factor here is just 4. So 4b minus 20, 20 and 4 can both be divided by 4. So positive 4, leaving us with b minus 5, just like that. Okay, so when I look at these two parentheses, one of them is 5 minus b, and the other is b minus 5. So they're not exactly the same. I'm going to rewrite this first set so that the b comes first, negative b plus 5, and this one I'm going to leave the way it is, b minus 5. So now they both have b come first, but they're not the same. And for us to factor by grouping, the parentheses have to be the same. They're almost the same, but the signs are wrong on one of these. And so I really want both of them to either be negative b plus 5, or I want both of them to be b minus 5 so they're the same. And I actually can do that if I do a tiny little bit more factoring here. This negative b plus 5, I'm going to factor a negative 1 out of that set of parentheses. So a negative 1 is going to come out in front here, making this 3a a negative 3a instead. And that's going to change this to a b minus 5. Now let's check and make sure that I've done this correctly. And of course, the way we can check and make sure it's done correctly is using the distributive property. If I do negative 3a times b, do I get negative 3ab? Yes. And if I do negative 3a times negative 5, that's a negative times a negative, do I get positive 15a? Yes, I do. So I'm still getting the same thing by factoring out a negative 3a and switching the signs. Now I had to do that because I needed these two parentheses to be the same, b minus 5 and b minus 5, because once the parentheses are the same, that's my first set of parentheses. And then my second set of parentheses is whatever's left over, negative 3a and 4, and I could do negative 3a plus 4 or 4 minus 3a. Either one of those is fine. So here is what our final answer looks like, just like that. So if the two parentheses aren't the same after you factor by grouping, sometimes it means we made a mistake. We didn't get the greatest common factor. But sometimes just with a tiny little tweak, factoring out a negative usually, we can make the parentheses the same. Let's try again with this set of 4 terms right here. And again, we're going to look for a greatest common factor first. There's not one. There's nothing all 4 of them have in common. So let's look at the first pair. Negative 2xy minus 10x. It's going to be our first set. Negative 2xy minus 10x. So negative 2 and negative 10 have a common factor of 2, but remember, if it starts with a negative, it's usually best to factor out a negative. So let's factor out a negative 2. And then they also both have an x. So the greatest common factor is negative 2x. And then what would be in the parentheses after that? Well, if I have negative 2xy and I factor out a negative 2x, that leaves me with a y. and then negative 10x, and I factor out a negative 2x. Negative divided by negative is positive, and 10x divided by 2x is 5. So I get y plus 5. Okay, so that set's good to go. Let's take a look at the second pair, 3y plus 15. What's the greatest common factor of 3y and 15? Well, there's no variable in common, but 3 and 15 can both be divided by 3. So greatest common factor is going to be 3, leaving us with a y plus 5. And so now I check and see, are the two parentheses the same? Yes, they are. They're both y plus 5. So in our answer, one of the parentheses will be y plus 5, and the other set of parentheses is what's left over. Negative 2x plus 3. So negative 2x plus 3 will be our other set of parentheses. And that's how we can factor, even if the two parentheses after factoring by grouping aren't the same, don't give up. Sometimes there's a quick little step we can take to make them the same.